I'm sorry. It's gotten to the point where Rookie of the Year is over 2-3 weeks ago. All of a sudden, Caitlin Clark is starting to push A'ja Wilson for MVP of this league, and I am not exaggerating.
Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon. And if I said to any of these people who think Caitlin Clark is not the Rookie of the Year, I'd say, who would you want to start your franchise with? Now, I'm not going to put A'ja Wilson in there.
Caitlin Clark, I'm sure you saw, just became the all-time scoring leader in women's college basketball. I'm curious, where would you rank her amongst all-time college players, in your opinion?
Ooh, that's tough because you got to win one. I feel like that college is one of those spaces where you got to win one for them to even have your name in the conversation. And it took me 3 years to win mine.
The WNBA's 2024 MVP rankings have stirred up intense discussion, especially with the dominant presence of A'ja Wilson at the top. Behind her, the competition tightens with Napheesa Collier, Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, and Alyssa Thomas rounding out the top 5. However, the name on everyone's lips, Caitlin Clark, has caused a phenomenon within the basketball community, drawing both praise and controversy. Clark, fresh off becoming the all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball, has rapidly transitioned into the WNBA, showing everyone that she belongs at the highest level of the sport. While many analysts and fans dismiss the idea of her being in the MVP conversation, I beg to differ. Let's dive into the 2024 MVP race, the potential of Caitlin Clark, and why I think she deserves serious consideration for the coveted award. A'ja Wilson has been the consensus frontrunner for the MVP award this year, and rightfully so. She's been dominating all season long, showcasing her talent on both ends of the court. 2 years ago, her team, the Las Vegas Aces, averaged only 1,800 fans at home games. Fast forward to this season, and they've reached an incredible 177,000, almost 10 times the previous attendance. It's a testament not just to the team's success, but to the influence of superstars like Wilson. Statistically, Wilson excels in nearly every category: points, rebounds, blocks, you name it. She's the anchor for the Aces, and no one questions her importance to the team's continued dominance in the league. Yet, for all her talents, one could argue that she has an exceptional supporting cast, including several Team USA players, which lessens the overall weight of her contribution. Does that diminish her candidacy for MVP? No, but it opens the door for others, like Caitlin Clark, who may have a greater impact on a team with fewer stars. Napheesa Collier is having a breakout season, and while many people agree she's a solid second in the MVP rankings, I think she deserves even more recognition. Collier has a unique ability to take over games when needed. Whether it's her scoring, defense, or leadership, she quietly puts her team, the Minnesota Lynx, on her back without the fanfare that some of the bigger names in the league attract. The Lynx, not necessarily one of the WNBA's marquee teams, have a real shot at making the finals this year, largely due to Collier's presence on the court. She's the ultimate team player, flying under the radar compared to the louder personalities in the league. But make no mistake, when it's time to shine, she steps up. Collier's MVP case is strong, and I'm a fan of how she leads her team in a way that mirrors the humility and hard work Caitlin Clark brings to her squad. It's why I believe both deserve to be in the top 3 conversation this season. Now let's get into Caitlin Clark, who is having a phenomenal rookie year. As I mentioned earlier, she recently became the all-time leading scorer in college basketball, men's or women's, and her transition to the WNBA has been nothing short of spectacular. If you don't think Clark should be in the MVP race, I challenge you to answer one question. If you were starting a franchise today, who would you pick between her and any other player in the league? I'm not saying she's better than A'ja Wilson, but if we're talking about who has the biggest impact right now, you can't dismiss Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese, another fantastic player, doesn't compare to Clark in terms of what she brings to a team. The Indiana Fever, Clark's team, have seen an incredible turnaround since she joined. Last season, they were the worst team in the WNBA. This year, they've won 14 of their last 20 games, and a lot of that can be attributed to Clark's leadership and playmaking abilities. After the All-Star break, she chose to focus on improving her game rather than participating in the festivities. That dedication has translated into a different, more dangerous version of Clark, one who is actively pushing her team into playoff contention. When we talk about Rookie of the Year, it's clear that Caitlin Clark is the runaway favorite. She's been lighting up the league with her scoring, passing, and basketball IQ. Clark is currently tied for steals with Napheesa Collier and leads the league in assists. She's only a rookie, but she plays like a seasoned veteran. The way she controls the pace of the game, making her teammates better with every possession, is reminiscent of some of the greatest point guards we've seen. Her shooting numbers are also impressive: 41% from the field, 33% from three, and 89% from the free throw line. While some critics argue that her defense isn't as strong as others in the MVP race, I'd say that she more than makes up for it with her other contributions. She ranks 15th in the league in steals, proving that she can be disruptive on the defensive end as well. In my previous video, I compared Clark's rookie season to Candace Parker's legendary 2008 campaign, where she won both Rookie of the Year and MVP. Let's look at the numbers. Parker averaged 18.5 points per game that season, while Clark is already outscoring her. Parker had more rebounds, but Clark excels in assists, steals, three-pointers made, and free throw percentage. What's even more impressive is that Clark, a point guard, is showing elite passing skills that rival some of the best in the NBA. Her LeBron-esque bounce passes, court vision, and ability to get her teammates involved set her apart from many of her peers. Watching her play, you can't help but notice how she elevates everyone around her. Much like Parker in 2008, Clark has the potential to win both Rookie of the Year and MVP. While A'ja Wilson is undoubtedly a superstar, there's an argument to be made that her MVP candidacy is somewhat cushioned by the Aces' star-studded roster. The Aces have 4 players who are part of Team USA, which means Wilson doesn't always have to carry the same weight as someone like Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever, by contrast, didn't have any Team USA players last season, and Clark has single-handedly turned them into a playoff contender. When we talk about value, it's not just about who has the best stats, it's about who's most valuable to their team. In that sense, Clark may have a stronger case than people are willing to admit. Without her, the Fever wouldn't be in the position they're in right now. She's made them relevant, and that kind of impact should be part of the MVP conversation. One thing I've noticed is that the expectations for Caitlin Clark seem to shift constantly. It feels like the more she excels, the higher people raise the bar for her to be considered among the top players. When she first entered the league, people were skeptical about whether she could handle the physicality and speed of the WNBA. Now, just months into her rookie season, she's leading the league in assists, knocking down logo threes, and carrying her team on her back. We saw something similar with Russell Westbrook during his MVP season in the NBA. He didn't have the best team around him, but his sheer will and determination kept the Oklahoma City Thunder competitive. Westbrook won the MVP that year largely due to his triple-double prowess, even though his team didn't go far in the playoffs. Similarly, Clark's ability to elevate her team in such a short time is something that should be recognized. At this point, it's hard to ignore the fact that Caitlin Clark deserves a spot in the top 5 for MVP voting. She's doing things on the court that few others can, and she's making her team significantly better in the process. The Fever went from being the worst team in the league to one of the hottest teams in the WNBA, and that's largely because of Clark. She's not just putting up great numbers, she's having an impact that goes beyond the box score. Her leadership, her ability to control the tempo, and her knack for making the right play at the right time are invaluable. If Clark isn't included in the MVP conversation, it would be a disservice not only to her, but to the growth of the WNBA as a whole. She's a once-in-a-generation talent, and we should be celebrating that. As we continue through the 2024 season, it's clear that we're witnessing a new era of WNBA basketball. With players like Aja Wilson, Napheesa Collier, and Caitlin Clark leading the charge, the future of the league looks brighter than ever. The MVP race is heating up, and while Wilson may still be the favorite, I believe Clark deserves consideration for what she's accomplished this year. It's easy to get caught up in stats and accolades, but when you look at the bigger picture, it's hard to deny Clark's value to her team and to the league. Whether she wins MVP this year or not, one thing is for sure, Caitlin Clark is here to stay, and she's already changing the game.